Hey you gentle cuties, Marcoon here. Today I'm going to talk about why playing poker is the worst job.
If you're trying to talk, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk shit out. If you're gonna walk, go ahead and walk. Never could I walk you out. Can't pull the trigger. Can't pull the trigger.
I moved to LA 4.5 years ago to focus on music. I had a part-time job lined up, but I was cautiously optimistic that poker could pay the bills. Fast forward to today, and poker's been my primary source of income for nearly 5 years. And while I'm extremely grateful for everything the game has given me, never in a million years would I recommend it as a job to anyone else. In fact, I think for most people, playing poker for a living would be one of the worst jobs imaginable. Here's why. Reason number one, variance. As a professional poker player, you can go weeks or even months losing money, even if you make every correct decision, even if you're one of the best players alive. The human mind is always looking for patterns, even when there aren't any. Sometimes the Lakers lose 3 games in a row. Next thing you know, Stephen A. Smith is gesticulating about how LeBron's washed, or Anthony Davis isn't clutch, or how Danny Green showing his penis in the locker room made all the players forget how to properly execute drop, pick, and roll coverage. Stephen A. Smith doesn't understand variance. Variance and probability are tough concepts for us to wrap our head around because we're naturally wired to be results-oriented. When you play poker long enough, over hundreds of thousands or even millions of hands, the best players will always win. But the long run can be hard to see when you're down 20K on the night to the mouth breather across the table from you wearing a Hillary Clinton did Pizzagate t-shirt. For me, my worst stretch was about 900 hours. 900 hours of making pretty sound, analytically based decisions and losing over and over and over again. Imagine going to work for 8 to 9 months and paying your boss for the privilege of showing up. I pride myself on being pretty mentally strong today, but the variance wave has definitely gotten the best of me before. At one point it broke me. I would get in the car after the end of another losing session and scream at the top of my lungs and rip my shirt off. It's actually pretty funny thinking back on it. Reason number 2 why playing poker for a living is the worst job. Everyone will hate you. As a poker pro, you're always expected to be good for the game. Part of your job is keeping the recreational player across from you entertained so he doesn't get up and take his 10K in gambling money over to the baccarat table instead. Being good for the game means creating a friendly environment, having drinks with the table, engaging in pleasant conversation about the Lakers and Danny Green's penis, or just making fun side bets and gambles to keep things interesting. But sometimes you've been getting your ass kicked for 3 weeks straight, you're down 35K, and you just don't give a fuck about whatever inane conversation the commercial real estate investor across the table from you is trying to engage you in. But you're always expected to be professional. When you lose, you smile and say nice hand. When they lose, they tell you to go fuck yourself. Essentially, you're a cockroach skittering around collecting crumbs from people who are successful in other fields who just so happen to really suck at poker. Reason number 3 why playing poker for a living is the worst job. You start to see people differently. You start to see humans as flesh bags full of money for the taking. Even if someone at the table is a misogynistic, homophobic, racist piece of shit, it's in your best financial interest to shut up and smile if he's gonna give you money. The more money you're dumping, the more you can get away with. The guy wearing the 50K Richard Mille with the Bentley key fob could probably murder someone right in the middle of the table, and the other 8 players would have a good chuckle. Reason number 4 why playing poker is the worst job. Politics. At the low or mid stakes, you can walk into the casino and sit down and play any game. As you move up to the higher stakes, however, things change. Fewer and fewer recreational players exist who are willing to play for such exorbitant sums of money, knowing full well they're going to be losing the majority of the time. So, games become private. The higher stakes you climb, the more it's about who you know rather than how good you are. I started playing poker so I didn't have to report to anyone. But once you move above the mid-stakes, there's a good bit of ass-kissing involved. Whether it's paying a game organizer to get in a game or selling a percentage of your own action, pretty soon you find yourself lining other people's pockets just to get yourself in a game. It all starts to feel a little bit slimy. Finally, reason number 5 why playing poker for a living is a horrible job. it has a relatively low ceiling. It takes a lot to climb to the top. Years of learning, studying, analyzing, running simulations, and maybe most importantly, building a bigger and bigger bankroll so you can gently caress that like button to spike the social media algorithm so more people can learn why poker is a horrible job. You can't rest on your laurels. You have to continually get better. If you stay the same, you essentially get worse, because each year the player pool gets better as more and more information becomes common knowledge. There's a very small percentage of long-term winners in the game, maybe 1 to 2%, and maybe even less than that. And of that 1 to 2%, only a small percentage of those make enough for a decent living. Poker is insanely competitive, and it's very, very hard to climb to the top. Yet, the ceiling is relatively low compared to other very competitive endeavors. For example, if you're the best basketball player in the world, you may make $100 million a year. In poker, not so much. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend poker as a job to anyone. However, it'd be remiss of me not to talk about everything the game has given me, and even if I don't like it as much as I once did, I'll admit it, I still love it. Reason number one why I love it. I just talked about the ceiling being relatively low in poker, but conversely, the floor is actually pretty high, and while it may be an arduous path to the peak, life's actually pretty good at base camp. What I mean by that is, it's pretty damn easy to learn to beat mid-stakes cash games and become a winning poker player. Look at myself, for example. I was a break-even or slightly losing player. I subscribed to a training site, which, by the way, is Crush Live Poker if you want to learn. My friend Bart does an amazing job. I inhaled all the information and became a winning player within the matter of weeks or maybe a month at most. Second reason why I still love poker, the competition and the challenge. Basically, the game boils down to, hey man, I'm smarter than you. Let's put money on it. Poker engages the analytical side of my brain and keeps me sharp. For a creative, obsessed person like me, where absolutely anything and everything I make is objective, poker's my subjective respite. In poker, the margins can be up for debate, but there are mostly right and wrong decisions. There's certainly less gray area than most parts of life. Third reason why I still love poker, the freedom it gives me. There's no boss, there's no punching a clock, there's no set schedule. Feel like playing a day shift? Go for it. Feel like sleeping in? Cool. Feel like playing all night because the game is great? You're the boss. You make the rules. The fourth reason why I still love poker, how do you do four things? You do like this? All right, whatever. Fourth reason why I still love poker, it's about as close to a meritocracy as any job can get. Yes, there are still some structural disadvantages and barriers to entry and politics and whatever, but in the long run, the best players win. It doesn't matter if you're rich, Harvard educated, born with a silver spoon, or you come from nothing. If you can outthink the other players, you get their money. And I love that. The fifth and final reason why I still love poker is because of the discipline and mindset it's instilled in me. I admit it, I've always been a bit of a lazy piece of shit, but poker's taught me work ethic. It's taught me you get out what you put in, even if it takes a little bit of time. The single greatest lesson poker has taught me is the process is more important than the results. Worry about what you can control, not what you can't. And if you focus on putting in the work and making the correct decisions over and over and over again, the results tend to take care of themselves. Thank you everybody for watching, and have a gentle day.
I'm about what it's to go for. How you spin me till I know. Big old piece like rolled dog. Yeah. If you tryna talk, I don't wanna talk. I don't wanna talk shit out. If you're gonna walk, go ahead and walk. Never could I walk you out. Can't pull the trigger.